Hi friends, I hope everyone is doing well. I've been planning on filming a monoprinting tutorial video using all the different techniques that I know. I must admit it's an ambitious undertaking, so I decided to make separate videos and start with a video of the techniques that I use on a regular basis. If there's interest, then in the future I'll film other monoprinting techniques in separate videos. The basic supplies I'll be using in this video are 3 jelly plates. I have an 8" by 10". I have a 6" by 6" and a 3" by 5". You don't necessarily need all these sizes. I wanted to show how each one can be used. I only had the 8" by 10" for many years and only recently purchased these 2 other sizes, so don't feel as though you need more than one plate. Also, any brand, it can be used as well. Put these aside for a minute. And the paper I'm going to be using is copier paper and 70-pound drawing paper. A brayer is good to have. And then I brought out my acrylic paint, and I'm going to use light, medium, and dark colors. And lastly, paper towels. The other supplies, such as tools and stencils, will be discussed during that section of the video, so let's get started. This section is in real time. Going forward, the following sections will be sped up, so this video won't be over an hour long. I usually start by monoprinting a few solid grounds. I like using plain as well as painted papers when monoprinting. It gives me options. I prefer to use the monoprinting plate instead of applying the paint with a brush. You will use less paint and have a nice thin layer of paint on the paper. I have a second piece of paper beside me to wipe off the brayer. I use these papers as well in my collages. I place the paper along 2 edges of the plate. It helps me to line up the paper for the next layers. There are placement tools you can buy if you want to be exact. This method works for me. I don't necessarily need to be exact. I like using my hands to rub the paper to transfer the paint to the paper. You can use a bare-end printmaking tool instead if you would like. If there's paint left on the plate, then I'll print another paper, which is called a ghost print. Now that some of the paper has painted grounds, we can start with our first technique, and it's marking tools. And these are my favorite marking tools that I use. I use the other end of a paintbrush. As you can see, the bristles fell out, but I kept this so I can use the other end for marking on jelly plates. A plastic fork, cardboard roll, and I like using credit cards, old credit cards or gift cards, and either cutting them up or putting slots in them. And this is what I use to make the building monoprinted papers. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with each one and show you how I use them. This is how I used a gift card to create the marks on paper that will represent buildings. I used this technique on the papers for my nighttime cityscape collage video. I'll link that video below if you're interested in taking a look. I used paper that already had paint on it, so the base color will show through to represent the lights of the buildings. Again, lining up the paper against 2 sides of the plate, I used light to medium pressure to rub the paper against the plate. You can pick up the corner of the paper to check to make sure the paint is transferring to it. I will let the paint on the plate dry a bit before printing the ghost prints. You'll see me take multiple ghost prints throughout this video. When using a cardboard roll, I like to place the end directly onto the plate like a stamp. It makes a good first layer. Next, take the roll, press it down on the jelly plate, then swirl it to create a circle within a circle pattern. I love this color combination. This is my go-to pattern to make with a fork. It gives me a mid-century modern feel. Another simple pattern to create with a fork is a plaid. It makes an impact when using the paper for a collage. I like using the end of the paintbrush to create expressive swirls on the monoprinting plate. decided to bring out a paintbrush with a thinner handle to show the difference between using a thicker handle and a thinner handled paintbrush. I love using stencils and paper resist when I monoprint. Both of these create nice patterns on the paper. More times than not, I use stencils and paper resist that I cut myself. I would suggest using heavier paper than copy paper if you're going to make your own, so you can reuse the stencil over and over again. I like to use between 70 and 80 pound paper. And here are some of the stencils I've made myself. Nice circles. This one was tedious, but it gives a nice pattern. Now this one I've had laminated. I wanted to see if the stencil would last longer. Well, the stencil's starting to fall apart, so I wouldn't recommend laminating your stencil. It's an additional step in cost that's not really necessary. You can also use things like when you cut out your stencil, keep the part that you cut away. These act as a good resist. A gift tag, that's a nice resist. Somebody gifted me this paper doily, and I've been using this as a nice stencil. You can also use these stencils that have, letters and numbers on it. I seem to use these a lot as well. So for today, I have a couple more paper resists that I want to cut out, these designs, and then we'll start monoprinting. Now we're going to be creating a wavy plaid pattern. Next, we'll be making a wonky plaid pattern. You don't necessarily have to make only patterns with these stencils. I'm showing my go-to patterns with these techniques. By the way, the strips of paper used as stencils can be used as collage papers as well. There's usually a good amount of color and textures on those papers. With this type of stencil, make sure you press down hard enough so the paper touches the jelly plate. Printing first with those loose circles, then come back with a circular stencil creates a fun multi-layer print. The final technique is using these two jelly plates as stamps. I mostly use this technique when working in an art journal. The monoprinting techniques are similar to the previous ones, except that it's in an art journal. I'll bring out my two current art journals and we'll get to stamping. I couldn't help myself. I had to create another plaid pattern using this plate and tool in my 5-inch art journal. This other small art journal I use when painting to wipe off my brush on it, it was open right next to me, so I thought the pattern would look good on this spread. Here are all the papers that were monoprinted in this video. The great thing about monoprinting is that you can make a large number of printed papers in one art session. In the future, I'd like to add more markings to some of the ghost prints. Maybe I'll do that in the future video. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. I hope you found this video informative. Please let me know if you have any questions regarding monoprinting. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.